What is this? What goes wrong with it? What is it actually like to live with? And should you buy one? Hey, we're going to answer all of that and so much more. But guys, strap yourself in because this is a fun one. Okay, first up, what even is this thing? Basically, take the current Honda NSX, ditch all of the hybrid stuff, and then take the rest of it and reduce that by about 50%, and that is the Honda S660. Mid-engined, rear-wheel drive, target top, tiny dimensions, lightweight. This car isn't just great for the environment because it uses hardly any fuel. If you're just standing near it, it makes your immediate environment better because this thing is just all about fun. Now, the S660 has been around since approximately exactly 2015 and features ostensibly the same tiny turbocharged 3-cylinder engine as found in other Honda K cars like the N1. Only in this it is slightly modified and therefore it's pumping out a fire-breathing 47 kilowatts. I know that doesn't sound very impressive, and it's not, but we're going to see what it can do with those 47 kilowatts when we drive it. Now, these are an import from Japan, and they have received a couple of different updates during their life cycle. And like any good JDM car, they're available in a whole host of different flavors. Most commonly in alpha or beta trim, with both landing on local shores in everything from totally stock spec or with mild to wild body kits and fitted with full catalogues of optional extras. However, if you're happy to go hunting, there are some very special ones out there, like the, let's say, interesting looking S660 Neo Classic, the Concept Edition, or this, the Mugen RA. Guys, there's only 660 of these that were ever made. And the long list of Mugen parts, as you can see, shifted from being kind of a cute, fun little thing to pretty bloody serious, pretty convincingly. Now, unfortunately, all of this does come at a cost. This particular car is currently asking around about $50,000, and I will find a way to justify that price later in the video. But on the market, the really, really cheap ones, they're asking around about 30 grand. At the other end of the spectrum, the serious stuff like the properly modified ones, around about 60. Now look, that does seem like a whole lot of cash for not a lot of physical car, but look at it this way. If you look at a, say, a Suzuki Cappuccino or an AutoZem AZ1, they are cheaper than this, but they're also a whole lot older, and they feel it. And then like a Mazda MX-5 or a Miata of sort of the same year and kilometers, or even a Honda S2000, they ask around about the same as these, but guys, this is way, way more unique. And then when you look at the more like seriously exotic stuff, if you want rear-wheel drive, mid-engine, topless, driver-focused performance car, if you buy a Lotus like an Elise, that's going to be about $100,000. A Ferrari 458 Spider, that's going to be like $500,000. So really, this is a bargain. But look, talking value for money here, when you boil it all down, some people are happy to go and pay 30, 40, 50 million dollars for a Picasso. And at the end of the day, that's just a canvas and some paint that you can buy for next to nothing at your local art supply shop. Again, bargain. But look, in all seriousness, when it comes to what these cost, it just makes sense to try to find the best possible finance package. But rather than wasting hours doing that yourself, just hit the driver link down there and let the guys at Driver do that for you. They'll find you the very best finance package from dozens of different lenders. There are no hidden fees and you can get the cash for that new car in no time. Plus, doing all that via the link down there is going to get you a free $150 fuel voucher. And when it comes to one of these, that could be free fuel for months. Now, to give you an idea of just the size of this, yeah, it is tiny. To put it into perspective, here's a shot of the car next to a Mazda 3. Now, as far as like overall looks and design goes, depending on the trim spec, some of these can look sort of like just cutesy and fun. For me, with all the Mugen editions, it suddenly looks quite aggressive, and even though it's tiny, it has real presence on the road. Everybody bloody looks at this thing. And then there are all these like cool design highlights. So you've got, you know, intakes here. I don't know if these vents actually do anything, but still, it looks very cool. I love it. So look, as I'm exactly the same height and weight as NBA legend Steph Curry, I was concerned that I wouldn't actually fit in this car. But even with the roof up, I do. Like, look, it's obviously not the most spacious interior here, but rather than feeling like you're sitting in a car, it feels like you're wearing a car. Like this is some perfectly tailored racing suit. It feels so right for what this car is about. Like even comfort-wise, I don't feel crammed in. Like the door is just here and the center console's just here, but that allows my legs to kind of support my body. The seats themselves are super, super comfortable. I'm genuinely surprised at how comfortable this is. I really thought it'd be like, oh my God, I don't fit, but I do easily. Also just on the comfort, Even when you're not up it for the rent and just cruising along the freeway, like where your arms sit, this is hard plastic, but somehow Honda have made it comfortable. So when you're just leaning your arms there, it's not too bad. And then as far as like the design and the build quality, like look, there's a lot of hard scratchy plastics in here, but then the textures they've used make it feel more expensive than what these actually are. But then in this one, you've also got all these wonderful Mugen highlights like the red carpet and the carbon fiber shifter and leather on the steering wheel, leather on the seats. It just makes it feel even more premium again. Now, wear and tear in this particular example, obviously they're all going to be different, but in this one, this has done nearly 25,000 Ks. There's like no wear and tear. It feels and even smells like a new car. Door card's perfect, leather on the steering wheel, still plenty of texture. The carpets are great, the seats are, like the leather on the seats is still super supple. Yeah, honestly, it feels like a new car. Now look, as far as practicality goes, obviously that's not the biggest priority in a car like this, but it's not too bad considering what the car is. You've got a spot perfectly sized for your phone just here with a power outlet, USB in and HDMI in. You've got a really like impressive glove box, like that goes back quite deep. You've got a little spot here specifically for your keys. You've got a single cup holder here, a little tray there, a little spot here for life's filth and bits and pieces. And I think that's about it. Same on the passenger door. That's it for practicality up front, nothing under the seats. Look, honestly, not too bad for what it is. Elsewhere for practicality, well, obviously behind the cabin, nothing because there's the engine. But up front, you do kind of have storage, but technically when you have the roof down, this is where the roof lives. So when you've got the roof up, you've got a little bit of storage in the front, but yeah, as I said at the start, practicality is not exactly a priority. Now, even though the cabin of this is quite tiny, the amount of stuff Honda have crammed into it is seriously impressive. So like in the beta trim spec, you're gonna get climate control, Bluetooth and like fabric seats. But then the alpha trim spec, that adds leather, cruise control and kind of carbon fiber look everywhere. But then the list of like optional extras, it's immense. We're talking everything from this screen to illuminated sills, parking sensors, upgraded sound systems, and loads more. Actually, it's safe to say that each one landing locally is going to feature its own kind of exclusive set of toys and equipment. Now, as far as the all-important Apple CarPlay and Android Auto question, look, technically it can be added to these standard screens, but apparently getting the parts to do so can be a complete nightmare. But even then, apparently, according to many owners, getting it to work seamlessly is near impossible, and many of the owners just recommend ditching that and getting an aftermarket system, a quality aftermarket system. Now, look, as far as safety goes, I think we all assume that being so tiny, these things would be an absolute death trap, but plenty of reports have been published showing that these are no less safe than like a Yaris or a Mazda 2 or like a Honda Jazz, Honda Fit, something like that. And even when you think about how popular these or K cars are in Japan, they have to be safe, and they are. But look, to take you through what safety features you can expect and in honor of this car, we're gonna have someone else that's sort of funky and unique take you through what it's got. It's Jeff Goldblum.
You're, okay, right? So the safety equipment this delightful little car comes with includes multiple airbags, anti-lock brakes, traction and stability control, radar-assisted automatic collision avoidance, and a sense of immense confidence. But for all the specific details, check out the cheat sheet on ReDriven.com.
Okay, firstly, let's talk about the elephant in the room here. This is not a fast car. 0 to 100 kilometers an hour comes up in around about 10 seconds, which is about the same as a Kia Sportage. But think about doing like 0 to 100 while sitting on a skateboard. That would feel incredible, and this isn't that far removed from that experience. And then because it's so light, like this weighs a little bit over 800 kilos, which is funnily enough about half the weight of a Kia Sportage, it feels so much faster than what you're actually going. Like I keep thinking, geez, I must be doing about 140k an hour here. I look down and I'm doing 50. And guys, that means completely guilt-free fun. Plus, because the car is so small, actually placing it and maneuvering it, it becomes kind of like entertaining in its own way. Like it's just awesome. Plus, like that lack of weight, it just adds to the energy of everything. Like the steering and handling, it just feels like totally alive. The ride quality, like, okay, it's firm, but it's totally compliant. Like I thought it would be like bouncing all over the place, but it doesn't. It's actually like comfortable. Like the brakes are so responsive, and then, okay, this is verging into like car journalist wanker speak, but the mid-corner grip is phenomenal because less weight means more lateral grip, and that means more speed around corners. And then because you sit so low, like the feeling through the seat of your pants just feels amazing. Okay, and then we have this gear change. Look, Honda are masters when it comes to calibrating manual transmissions, and this is one of the best, if not the best, I've ever experienced. I just want to keep changing gears just for the sake of it. Actually, another thing on the gear, well, more the gearbox than the gear change itself, I thought that at freeway speeds this would just be like revving its head off, but in sixth at 110 it sits pretty low in the revs, so it hums along on the freeway really nicely. And then there's like all this cool quirky stuff. Like you can lower the rear window here and it ends up wrapping your neck in like hot air from the engine and gives you even more engine sounds. But then look, we've got to talk about a few negatives. As you can hear, it is really, really noisy in here. And also you're going to want to be very good mates with your passenger because you're basically kind of spooning each other as you drive everywhere. The A-pillars, they are huge for the size of the car, actually almost distractingly large. The vision out the back and even the rear blind spot is massive. And then everybody, and I mean everybody, looks at you. Like this thing draws so much attention. Luckily the attention that you do get is completely positive. Everywhere you drive you get smiles, thumbs up, claps, even laughing. But if you're an introvert, it can get tiring. But luckily the driving experience itself, it doesn't get tiring. This thing is completely and utterly brilliant. But will it still be brilliant after you see what's coming next? Okay, welcome to the part of the video that we all hate but love at the same time. What goes wrong with these? Let's start with the exterior. Not much goes wrong, to be honest. There are the few very odd sporadic reports of minor surface rust and some little electronic gremlins here and there, but not what we'd call common at all. The major issues with the exterior have nothing to do with the car, more to do with the ownership experience. For example, if somebody runs into you and you need some new body panels, actually getting those panels can be a challenge because it is an import. You can't just pop down to your local Honda dealer to get them. That will take time and therefore cost money. Also guys, it is a performance car and many have been driven as such, so it is critical to look out for any accident damage or dodgy repair work or just shitty mods. Also, another thing to watch out for, there are some very, very shady characters in the whole import world. So if you are buying one of these, or really any import, make sure you go to a reputable importer like the guys at Go Garage that lent us this one. Thanks, Go Garage. But look, aside from that with the exterior, yeah, nothing else really goes wrong, except for something that goes wrong with many cars, filthy windscreens and not being able to see where you're going when it rains. Luckily, WiperTech can fix that. Simply hit the link down below and you can order some of the very best wiper blades in the world easily online. They fit perfectly and easily. And by hitting that link, you're going to get 15% off and free express shipping. How awesome is that? Now, what goes wrong inside? Yeah, nothing. Really. There are the very odd sporadic reports of a few little electronic gremlins here and there, but even in saying that, a lot of the switchgear or the componentry behind the switchgear in this is shared with locally delivered Honda models, so you'd like to think that anything in here shouldn't be too hard to fix and pretty affordable. Now guys, before we get into mechanically what can go wrong with these, we've noticed that of the thousands of people that are watching our videos, about 3/4 of you haven't subscribed. And look, we want to make you a deal here. If you join the ReDriven community by simply hitting that subscribe button, by you doing that, it allows us to make bigger and better videos for you. And we cannot thank you enough. Okay, now mechanically, what goes wrong with a Honda S660? Sorry guys, I can't tell you because I'm not a qualified mechanic. Luckily, Jim is.
Look, my job this week is pretty easy because Hondas have always been at the pointy end of reliability, and these things are right up there with the best of them. One thing that does sway the reliability stats just a little bit is the overall low mileage of these things. Yeah, there are some out there with 100,000 Ks, but not many. Most of them we're talking 30, 40, maybe 50,000 Ks. Now, I'm not taking anything away from their reliability, it's just that with such low Ks, you're very unlikely to have issues. Unless you're a Volkswagen water pump, or unless it's been modified, and plenty of them have been. There are plenty of upgrade bits and pieces out there for those of you chasing more power, even though these do have about as much power as your average family car from the 80s. Some of those upgrade bits good, some not so good, so just make sure if there's any mods on the car that they are good mods and they've been done properly. And honestly, that's about all I've got because pretty much nothing goes wrong with these things.
Okay, so after all of that, should you buy one of these? we need to ask a much, much bigger question first. Why are you buying a sports car in the first place? If you're buying one as some sort of a flex or to stroke your ego and your motoring satisfaction comes from boasting performance numbers more than actually, I don't know, driving, or you're, say, a more copious-sized human, yeah, don't buy one of these. However, if you're constantly honing your driving skills, you're stimulated by the dynamic nuances that only come with driving small, light performance cars, and your self-esteem doesn't need to be compensated by buying a big, powerful performance car, then yes, the Honda S660 is the car for you. Look, obviously, do all of your due diligence, make sure it ticks every box, get a pre-purchase inspection, all that sort of stuff done, but epic thing. But guys, I have a question for you. Besides like all the brand name image bullshit and the insane acceleration that you're only going to experience maybe once in a blue moon, what do the likes of Ferrari, Lamborghini and McLaren offer that this doesn't? Like, this is more exclusive. People are going to look at you everywhere. It's arguably a more fun driving experience. It's cheaper to own and operate. And being a Honda, the build quality is probably far superior to all of those brands. But guys, what do you think? Let us know in the comments below. That's the Honda S660. Climate control, you're going to get Bluetooth connectivity and fabric. But then the Alpha trim spec, and being a Honda, it's probably built better.
These have as much power as your average 80s three-cylinder, six-cylinder. I knew I did that right. Even though these have as much power as your average 80s Even though these do have about the same horsepower as your average 80s six-cylinder, 3-litre. I'm so sorry. Sorry, Cal, I'm wasting all your time. Even though these do have about as much power as your average family car from the 80s.